Have you ever stopped to wonder why Solomon became the richest man on earth? Because the answer is not only in the gold that entered his kingdom, it is not only in the palaces he built. The real answer is much deeper. Solomon became rich because he received something very few people seek. Everybody wants money, but they do not govern their time. They want prosperity, but they do not govern their impulses. They want success, but they do not govern their decisions. They want abundance, but they live without organization. They want a new season, but they remain stuck in the same old disorder. Today, you are going to understand why King Solomon became the richest man on earth, what the true millionaire code of Solomon was, and what the principles of Proverbs reveal about the true source of wealth, prosperity, and a life governed by wisdom. Subscribe to this channel and leave your comment. I want to know where you are watching from. I pray that your life will also be prosperous. So let's begin. Solomon should not be seen only as a biblical figure who accumulated gold, treasures, palaces, and fame. He needs to be seen as a model of government, wisdom, administration, vision, order, and responsibility. Because before Solomon possessed wealth, he had to carry weight. Before he was admired by kings and queens, he had to make difficult decisions. Before building palaces, he had to govern people, conflicts, resources, alliances, territories, and pressures that many people cannot even imagine. And here is the point many people miss. Wealth without wisdom becomes vanity, prosperity without direction becomes waste, money without government becomes chaos. Opportunity without maturity can destroy a person faster than lack of opportunity, because whatever arrives without structure can also leave without control. That is why Solomon's wisdom is not only about distant spirituality, it is about practical life, financial life, mindset, choices, and building a future. Proverbs speaks about work, laziness, discipline, prudence, emotional control, words, associations, planning, correction, and paths that seem right but end badly. And when Proverbs says wisdom is the principal thing, it is saying that before seeking more wealth, a person needs to seek the wisdom that sustains wealth. Maybe before asking for more money, you need to ask for more practical wisdom to manage the money that already passes through your hands. Before asking for open doors, maybe you need to learn not to destroy the doors God has already opened because of disorganization, impulse, or emotional decisions. Before asking for a new season, maybe you need to stop repeating the same old patterns that keep your life stuck, your mind confused, and your financial life without direction. Because many people work hard, push hard, desire strongly, pray much, try again and again, but remain trapped in financial stagnation because they lack inner government. In this video, you will understand the principles that made King Solomon so powerful, so admired, and so prosperous. You will also see how the principles of Proverbs reveal why some people build abundance with wisdom, while others lose opportunities because of a lack of prudence. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel, because here we talk about wisdom, Proverbs, growth, prosperity, mindset, and spiritual direction applied to real life. And comment right now, I choose wisdom before wealth. Because that phrase summarizes one of the greatest keys of this video. Whoever puts wisdom in the right place begins to see prosperity with different eyes. You need to understand something many people ignore when they talk about Solomon, wealth, and biblical prosperity. Solomon's first great secret was not the gold. It was not the treasures. It was not the throne. And it was not the size of his kingdom. The first secret was the order that existed inside him. When God gave Solomon the chance to ask for something, he did not ask for an easy life, he did not ask for fame, he did not ask for revenge, and he did not ask for more power. He asked for wisdom, because deep down he understood that without discernment, any blessing can become a burden. And this is where the true code of Solomon begins. Before wanting to receive more, he wanted to have inner structure to govern better. And look at how this connects with the lives of so many people today. There are people asking for more money, more open doors, more financial growth, more opportunities, more abundance, but they still do not know how to manage the little that already passes through their hands. A person wants to get out of financial pressure, but lives by impulse, wants to defeat financial stagnation, but repeats emotional decisions, wants to prosper, but continues with a sabotaged mindset. And I am not saying this to accuse you. I'm saying it because sometimes a stuck life is not a lack of effort. It is a lack of practical wisdom applied to small decisions. Because whoever does not correct their mindset, even when they receive more, remains trapped in the same repeated cycles. It is like someone asking for a more powerful car, but still not knowing how to hold the steering wheel on a dangerous curve. Solomon's wisdom shows that sustainable wealth does not begin in the pocket. It begins in decisions. It begins when you stop before buying out of anxiety, when you calculate before taking on debt, when you think before saying yes, when you learn to separate desire from direction. It begins when you look at your financial life and say, wait a minute, where is my money going? What invisible pattern is controlling me? What lack of organization is stealing my future? That is prudence. That is understanding. That is inner government. And Proverbs teaches that wisdom is worth more than gold, because gold can be in your hand today and disappear tomorrow. But when divine wisdom enters the mind, it teaches you to build, protect, multiply, and sustain what God allows to come to you. So before asking, how can I earn more? Maybe the more mature question is, do I have enough wisdom to sustain what I am asking for? Because there is a huge difference between receiving wealth and being prepared to live a prosperity with purpose. Solomon did not put wealth in the place of wisdom. He put wisdom as the foundation of wealth. And maybe this is the adjustment many people need to make. Stop seeking only the result and begin seeking the mindset that sustains the result. Because God can open doors, but a mind without direction can waste precious opportunities. And when you understand this, you begin to realize that Solomon's next secret was not only in what he asked for, but in the way he made decisions when everyone around him was confused. One of Solomon's strongest marks was not only the amount of gold he possessed, but the clarity with which he could decide when the situation seemed confusing. And this is much deeper than it seems, because many people want to talk about wealth, prosperity, and financial growth, but they do not want to talk about the weight of difficult decisions. Solomon was not remembered only as a rich king. He was recognized as someone who had discernment, prudence, and the ability to see beyond appearances. He knew that not every situation can be solved by the emotion of the moment, by impulse, or by the loudest voice. Sometimes the difference between an aligned life and a stuck life is a decision you need to make with maturity, even when it hurts. Because Solomon's wisdom was not a beautiful wisdom meant only to be admired. It was practical wisdom, used to judge, govern, and separate truth from illusion. And here comes a point that speaks directly to your life. Many people are not stuck because they lack opportunity, but because they keep repeating emotional decisions. They buy because they are anxious. They speak because they are wounded. They accept any offer because they are afraid. They enter partnerships without observing character. They start projects without planning, and then wonder why everything ends in disorder. A person calls bad luck what was born from a lack of prudence, calls persecution what was born from a poorly thought-out choice, calls lack of open doors what was born from lack of direction. And I know, sometimes the pressure is great, the bill arrives, the charge gets heavy, the heart races, the mind wants quick relief. But a decision made in desperation can cost months, years, or even an entire season of your life. That is why Proverbs says, "The prudent considers his steps," because whoever does not observe the path ends up stumbling over the same invisible patterns. Think about a small crack in a wall. At first, almost no one cares. It looks like just a detail, a small mark, something you can push aside and deal with later. But if that crack grows, it begins to compromise the structure, then reaches the foundation, then requires an expensive, heavy, and painful repair. In financial life, many debts, many financial mistakes, and many lost opportunities begin exactly like that, with small decisions that seemed harmless. A small expense made on impulse, a subscription you do not even use, a purchase made to impress someone, a partnership formed without really knowing the person, a yes given just to avoid disappointing others. And when you realize it, it was not one great tragedy that destroyed your stability. It was a sequence of small decisions without inner government. The necessary adjustment here is simple, but it requires maturity. Before deciding, pause. Before spending, calculate. Before accepting, investigate. Before committing, observe. Do not let anxiety become your counselor, because anxiety usually wants relief, not future construction. Do not let impulse govern your financial life, because impulse promises quick pleasure and delivers financial pressure later. Start asking better questions. Does this match my direction? Does this strengthen my foundation? Does this move me closer to prosperity with purpose, or does it only feed a temporary desire? This type of question seems simple, but it changes the game, because it transforms reaction into awareness and awareness into good decisions. And when you learn to decide with wisdom, you begin to understand that Solomon's next level was not only making good decisions on the outside, but first governing everything that was happening inside. There is a detail about Solomon that many people overlook. He was a king before he was remembered as the richest man on earth. This means that Solomon's wealth was not floating in the air as if it were just a gift falling from heaven without responsibility. Before the gold, the treasures, the alliances, and the abundance, there was government, there was direction, there was structure, there was an enormous responsibility over people, resources, decisions, and the future. The kingdom of Solomon was not only a beautiful place full of wealth, it was a system that needed to be governed with practical wisdom, discernment, and order. And this reveals one of Solomon's hidden secrets. He did not only accumulate, he governed what was under his authority. Because whoever does not know how to govern small things will hardly be able to sustain great achievements. And now bring this into your life, very directly. Many people want to prosper on the outside, but they still have not learned to govern on the inside. They want more money, but they do not govern their impulses. They want financial growth, but they do not govern their routine. They want opportunities, but they do not govern their attention. They want open doors, but they do not govern their own emotional decisions. A person says they want a new season, but they continue living on autopilot, stuck in the same habits, the same expenses, the same distractions, and the same lack of organization. And listen, this is not meant to put anyone down, because everyone has messy areas, everyone has weak points, everyone has lost control at some point. But the turning point begins when you stop blaming everything around you and ask, what part of my life am I still not governing with wisdom? Proverbs says that the one who rules his spirit is better than one who takes a city, and that sentence is heavy because it exposes a truth many people avoid. You can conquer things on the outside and still be defeated on the inside. You can earn more money and still be a slave to impulse. You can grow professionally and still be dominated by anxiety. You can have talent and still destroy opportunities because of lack of self-control. Talent without inner government is dangerous because it takes a person far, but it does not sustain that person there. It is like building a tall building on a weak foundation. On the outside, it is impressive, but on the inside, it is vulnerable. and a life without self-control may even seem to be moving forward for a while. But sooner or later, the lack of government charges a price. So before asking for great wealth, begin by governing what God has already placed in your hands today. Govern your time, your words, your expenses, your impulses, your habits, your relationships, your attention, and your energy. Do practical things. Set a time to stop wasting time on your phone. Write down your weekly expenses. Choose one priority each day. Organize your environment. Cut one distraction that is stealing your consistency. This seems small, but this is how a construction mindset is born, because biblical prosperity does not go together with disorder. Solomon's wisdom teaches that sustainable wealth requires a life governed by wisdom, not a life dragged around by impulse. And when you begin to place inner government where there used to be disorder, you become ready to understand why Solomon did not build wealth with desperation, but with order. One thing you need to realize about Solomon is that his wealth was not born from improvisation. The kingdom of Solomon was not prosperous because things simply worked out by chance, as many people like to imagine. There was order, there was planning, there was organization, there was administration, there was structure, there was a government functioning behind the abundance. The gold, the treasures, the trade, the alliances, and the prosperity were not scattered in the middle of chaos. They were connected to a wise mindset, a construction mindset, a mindset that understood that nothing great can be sustained in chaos. And maybe this is one of Solomon's greatest secrets. He did not treat wealth as luck, he treated wealth as responsibility. Now think about the reality of many people today, especially when their financial life is tight. A person receives money without a plan, spends without a plan, decides without a plan, buys on impulse, promises without calculating, works without direction, and then feels suffocated by the consequences. And I know that sometimes the pressure of life makes us want to solve everything in a rush, in desperation, in haste, trying to put out fire after fire. But the problem is that desperation almost never builds. Desperation only reacts. A person is tired, anxious, afraid of falling behind, so they make quick decisions to relieve an immediate pain, but end up creating a heavier burden for the future. That is why so much financial stagnation is not born from a lack of effort, but from a lack of order applied to effort. Proverbs teaches that the plans of the diligent lead to abundance, but everyone who is hasty only comes to poverty. Do you see the difference? The diligent person is not just someone who works a lot. It is someone who works with direction, prudence, consistency, and planning. The hasty person wants results now, wants wealth now, wants answers now, wants relief now, but does not want to go through the process that organizes life inside and outside. It is like someone trying to build a house without a blueprint, without calculations, and without a foundation. They buy materials today, change everything tomorrow, tear things down later, and start over without knowing where they are going. In the end, the person does not have a house, they have a pile of poorly organized effort. And many people are doing exactly that with their own lives. A lot of tiredness, a lot of rushing, a lot of desire, but very little structure. So the necessary adjustment is to put order where today there is improvisation. Organize your routine, organize your finances, organize your priorities, organize your goals, organize your environment, and organize your decisions. Start simply. Look at the week before it begins, write down what needs to be paid, define what cannot be bought right now, set aside time to build something that truly matters. This does not sound as exciting as talking about great treasures, but this is where practical wisdom begins to change a person's life. Because God can open doors, but a life without order can turn open doors into lost opportunities. And when you understand that prosperity with purpose requires structure, you become ready to see another powerful principle. Solomon did not only build with order, he also administered with discipline. Solomon's wealth was not only a beautiful image of gold, palaces, treasures, and abundance. Behind all of that, there was administration, discipline, responsibility, and a mind capable of taking care of what God had placed in his hands. The kingdom of Solomon required management every day, people to lead, resources to protect, construction projects to supervise, alliances to maintain, and difficult decisions to make. This shows that prosperity is not only about receiving more, prosperity is also about taking better care, because many people pray for financial growth, but they still have not developed the maturity to manage the growth they desire so much. And this may be one of Solomon's hidden secrets. He understood that abundance without administration becomes waste. Now, being very direct with you, some people are not stuck only because they earn little. In many cases, a person even receives opportunities, even improves their income, even manages to open some doors, but continues in financial pressure because the mindset has not changed. They earn more, but spend more, receive more, but go deeper into debt, have more chances, but keep living without planning, without control, and without clarity. And of course, there are difficult realities. Tight wages, heavy responsibilities, and bills that arrive without asking permission. But there is also a truth that needs to be faced. If you do not observe your resources begin to escape through places you do not even notice. That is why practical wisdom does not appear only in great decisions, but also in the way you take care of small things every day. Proverbs talks about knowing the condition of your flocks and giving attention to your herds, because riches do not last forever. Bringing this into today, knowing your flocks can mean knowing how much comes in, how much goes out, where money is leaking, and which habits are draining your financial future. It can mean looking at that subscription you forgot about, that small expense that repeats itself, that purchase made from anxiety, that debt you keep pushing aside. And I know facing the numbers can hurt because sometimes the spreadsheet shows what emotion wanted to hide. But what you do not face, you do not govern. And what you do not govern sooner or later begins to govern you. Lack of organization seems small in the beginning, but over time it becomes lack of control, debt, stress, and the feeling of a stuck life. So the necessary adjustment is to stop running from reality and begin administering with wisdom. Write things down, observe, calculate, cut excesses, define priorities, track your resources, and stop treating your financial life as if it were an impossible mystery to understand. You can start today with something simple. Write down everything that came in this month, everything that went out, everything that was necessary, and everything that was impulse. Then ask honestly, is this building my future or only feeding my lack of control? This type of course correction creates a new mindset, a wealth mindset, a construction mindset, a life governed by wisdom. And when you begin to administer better what you have, you also begin to realize that Solomon did not prosper alone. He knew how to connect with the right people. Solomon did not prosper in isolation, and that already tears down an illusion many people carry, the idea that a person builds something great completely alone. The kingdom of Solomon also grew because there were alliances, agreements, connections, trade routes, influence, reputation, and intelligent partnerships. He knew how to relate to other peoples, attract resources, open paths, and turn his wisdom into visible influence. This does not mean depending on others to win, but understanding that prosperity also passes through the right connections. In real life, many doors do not open only because you have talent. They open because someone trusts you, respects your posture, and recognizes your practical wisdom. And here comes one of Solomon's secrets. He did not only have wealth, he had enough influence to attract opportunities around his wisdom. Now pay attention, because this point is very sensitive. When we talk about strategic alliances, we are not talking about using people. flattering someone, or getting close to others only out of interest. That would be poverty of character, not biblical prosperity. We are talking about choosing better who influences your mind, who participates in your decisions, who feeds your vision, and who strengthens your discipline. Because many people want a new season, but continue surrounded by old voices that reinforce the same invisible patterns: complaining, disorder, impulse, lack of direction, lack of prudence, and life on autopilot. And sometimes a person does not realize that they are not only living in an environment, they are being shaped by it. Proverbs says that whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools suffers harm. That sentence is simple, but it carries enormous weight because it shows that company is not only presence, company is influence. If you walk with people who mock discipline, sooner or later your consistency weakens. If you walk with people who live in lack of control, sooner or later lack of control starts to seem normal. If you walk with people who do not plan, do not grow, do not correct themselves, and do not seek knowledge, you begin to think that living stuck is just the common destiny of everyone. It is like planting a good seed in contaminated soil. The seed may have potential, but the environment fights against its growth every day. So the necessary adjustment is to review your alliances with honesty and maturity. Ask yourself, who feeds my wisdom? Who strengthens my long-term vision? Who brings me closer to good decisions? Who helps me grow with responsibility? And also ask, who normalizes my disorder? Who encourages my impulse? Who pulls me toward a sabotaged mindset? Who makes me lose clarity, focus, and direction? Sometimes a course correction does not begin only by cutting expenses. It begins by cutting influences that cost more than money. Because the right connections can open doors, generate credibility, bring opportunities, create intelligent partnerships, and strengthen a construction mindset. And when you understand the power of alliances, you become ready to see another level of Solomon's wisdom. He did not think only about now, he built with long-term vision. One of the most impressive things about Solomon is that he did not think only about momentary relief. He did not govern like someone desperate trying to solve only today's problem. He built like someone who could see tomorrow. King Solomon raised the temple, the palace, cities, administrative structures, trade routes, and projects that required time, patience, resources, consistency, and direction. This reveals a mindset very different from the mindset of someone who lives only reacting to the pressure of the day. Solomon's wisdom was not rushed, because true wisdom understands that every great construction needs a foundation. And maybe one of Solomon's greatest secrets is exactly this. He thought like a builder, not like a survivor. And here is a very real pain for many people. When life gets tight, the short term starts to command everything. A person wants relief now, money now, an answer now, recognition now, pleasure now, change now, because they are tired of waiting and tired of fighting. I understand that, because when pressure hits hard, the mind begins looking for any quick way out just to breathe a little. But the problem is that decisions made only to relieve the present can compromise the financial future, weaken discipline, and keep a person trapped in repeated cycles. That is how many people trade construction for appearance, planning for impulse, consistency for anxiety, and prosperity with purpose for temporary solutions. And then they look at their own life and see a lot of effort, a lot of rushing, a lot of tiredness, but little real growth. Proverbs teaches that through wisdom a house is built, by understanding it is established, and by knowledge the rooms are filled with precious treasures. Do you see the order? First comes wisdom, then understanding, then knowledge, then abundance. The house does not begin full of treasures. It begins with foundation, structure, process, and construction. But many people want to fill the rooms before raising the walls, want wealth before maturity, want harvest before planting, want consistent results before correcting the root. It is like someone buying expensive decorations for a house that does not even have a roof yet. For a moment it looks beautiful, but it cannot withstand a storm. Long-term vision forces you to ask, is what I am doing today building something, or is it just giving me a quick feeling of relief? So the necessary adjustment is to begin thinking like a builder, not like someone who merely survives. A survivor asks, what do I want now? A builder asks, what will this produce 5 years from now? A survivor spends energy putting out fires. A builder creates order so they do not always live surrounded by fire. You can apply this today by choosing one concrete goal, cutting one habit that sabotages your future, saving a small portion of what comes in, studying a skill, and organizing your week with intention. This is practical wisdom. This is long-term vision. This is a construction mindset. This is a life governed by wisdom. And when a person begins to live like this, something powerful happens. Their posture changes, their reputation changes, and opportunities begin to look at them differently. Solomon's wisdom did not remain hidden inside the palace. It spread, crossed borders, and reached the ears of kings, peoples, and important people of his time. King Solomon was not known only for the gold, the treasures, or the greatness of his kingdom. He was known for wisdom, excellence, clarity, and the way he governed. And this reveals something many people do not realize. Reputation is also a form of invisible wealth. Before some doors open in your financial life, they open through the trust people have in you. Because where there is credibility, there are opportunities. Where there is excellence, there is respect. Where there is practical wisdom, there is influence. And here comes a truth that may confront you a little. There are people who want to prosper, but do not take care of their own name. They promise and do not deliver. They start and abandon. They talk too much and deliver too little. They want to look great on the outside, but still have not built trust on the inside. And listen, this is not about being perfect, because nobody is perfect. It is about being trustworthy, correctable, consistent, and responsible. Sometimes a person says they do not have opportunity, but maybe the problem is that they still have not built a reputation that attracts serious opportunities. Because a good name works like a door that opens before you even arrive. The way you work speaks, your punctuality speaks, your commitment speaks, your character speaks, and the way you handle money and pressure also speaks. Proverbs says that a good name is more desirable than great riches, and that is incredibly strong. Because money can be lost and rebuilt, but a broken reputation can close doors for a long time. Some people sacrifice credibility for quick gain, trade honor for a small advantage, trade consistency for appearance, and then do not understand why no one trusts them anymore. But biblical prosperity is not only about accumulating, it is about building with honor, prudence, maturity, and purpose. Solomon attracted people because his wisdom became visible, and when wisdom becomes visible, it begins to generate influence. It is like a light shining on a hill. Whoever is looking for direction naturally begins to look toward the place where there is clarity. So if you want to build a life of prosperity with purpose, begin also by building a good name. Do what you promise, show up with excellence, treat people with respect, be faithful in small things, do not sell an image your life cannot sustain, and do not destroy your honor because of haste. Take the basics seriously, respond with responsibility. Deliver what was agreed, take care of your word, organize your life, and become someone people can recommend without fear. This creates trust, reputation, intelligent partnerships, healthy networking, leadership, and open doors. And maybe God is showing that your next season does not depend only on more money, but on more wisdom, more inner government, more order, more discipline, and more honor. Because when a life becomes governed by wisdom, it does not merely seek wealth. It becomes the kind of life that is ready to sustain what God has decided to entrust. Solomon became the richest man on earth, not only because he received riches, gold, treasures, and recognition. He became rich because there was order behind the wealth, structure behind the abundance, wisdom behind every achievement. He asked for wisdom before asking for gold, governed before accumulating, made difficult decisions, organized resources, and built strategic alliances. He thought long-term, developed reputation, led with discernment, and recognized God as the source of true wisdom. And this is the most important spiritual point. Solomon's greatest wealth began at the right source. Because when a person disconnects from divine wisdom, they begin to confuse wealth with vanity, success with appearance, and prosperity with showing off. They begin to call lack of control freedom, excess blessing, impulse courage, and anxiety the urgency to win. But Proverbs shows another path. True prosperity begins when life aligns with correct principles. It is not only about having more, it is about becoming someone capable of better administering what has already been received. It is not only about earning more money, it's about governing time, impulses, decisions, habits, and your own mindset better. It's not only about accumulating, it is about building with wisdom, protecting with prudence, and multiplying with responsibility. Maybe your financial life is not stuck because you lack potential, talent, or ability. Maybe it is stuck because there are areas without government, without order, without planning, without vision, without prudence, and without correction. But this can change when wisdom enters, because confusion begins to lose strength, improvisation begins to die, and disorder begins to be confronted. When inner government grows, the outer life begins to align with more clarity, maturity, and direction. And when God becomes the source of direction, prosperity stops being vanity and becomes responsibility. Solomon teaches us that before seeking the wealth that appears, we need to seek the wisdom that sustains. Because a person without wisdom can lose even what they have conquered, but a person guided by wisdom learns to build, protect, and multiply what they receive. So look at your life with honesty. Which decisions need to be corrected? Which impulses need to be governed? Which habits need to be abandoned? What area of your financial life needs order? What part of your mindset needs adjustment? What invisible pattern needs to be broken today? If this message spoke to you, comment right now. I choose wisdom before wealth. Subscribe to the channel to receive more content about wisdom, prosperity, and spiritual growth applied to real life. Turn on notifications, because here you will continue learning how to apply biblical principles to your mind, your decisions, and your practical life. And share this video with someone who needs to understand that life changes when wisdom begins to govern.